Play different.
For many people, the appeal of gaming is to live out fantasies, to do things they wouldn't be able to do in reality, to escape the drudgery of everyday life and go on adventures. Which is why today, we're looking at a game about working on a factory assembly line. Okay, I am poking fun at the concept a bit here, but Factory the Industrial Devolution by Patrick Callahan is a wonderful and highly original puzzle and micromanagement game. It's also a title fondly remembered by many 90s Mac gamers, as I'm far from the first person to cover it in recent years. Personally, I've always had a thing for games built around mundane activities, as they often put a layer of absurdity over the concept that can make us reconsider daily experiences we take for granted. And Factory is by no means a simulation. The assembly line concept is abstracted quite a bit with video game mechanics and logic, which is explained away in the plot. It may not look it, but the game is actually set in a dystopian future where all factories are automated. Of course, things went wrong and every machine has broken down and you're left to run everything manually. And since nothing was designed to be operated by humans, it's naturally not exactly a user-friendly setup. I will quickly point out here, however, that the game itself is very user-friendly, with the player just needing to click on different machines to interact with them. Each level follows the same setup. You're given an assembly guide, and then bits and pieces fall into conveyor belts and travel around the non-scrolling screen. These bits and pieces need to be combined in a particular way, and then once the product is complete, need to be rolled into the truck for shipping. Each level has a quota you have to meet before clock-off time, with bonus cash, i.e. points, earned for surpassing the quota, whereas letting a defective product ship out will have your paycheck docked some dosh. You can also speed up or slow down the machines depending on how well you're coping. Sounds simple, right? And it certainly starts out that way with the first level, which just requires the player to cap bottles of mouthwash. But then you have to start storing items separately, activate and deactivate machines, put together products made out of multiple sections in the correct order, cook products, paint products, deal with multiple products on the same assembly line, and so on. All this while making sure nothing gets mangled by going into the wrong machine, and making even more sure nothing dodgy gets into the truck while you're also watching a dozen other items move about increasingly unuser-friendly assembly lines. It can become chaotic, but it's also incredibly satisfying when you have a smooth run and get into the same, often offbeat, rhythm as the machines, with a proud smile on your face as you watch fresh stock load onto the truck. Then you hear someone say,
"Oh no,"
and you notice you've put a Macintosh in the oven. Suddenly, you go into panic and disaster recovery mode, but a mistake creates a chain reaction, with destroyed stock starting to pile up. It can often be a bit hilarious when things go horribly wrong like this, and other times, a bit frustrating. Before each level, you get a little write-up about the product you're about to manufacture and the kind of challenges you'll face. They're short, but give the game that extra bit of personality. The items you build are incredibly varied too, including lava lamps, burgers, toilets, and boxes of cereal with a bootleg Elmo on them. One thing that impressed me was that the factories themselves all feel very different from each other. Callahan did a great job of coming up with new mechanics that the players have to deal with and introducing them steadily through the game. Even more astounding is that if a product has a similar build process to another one, there is always a twist in the level design to make it feel different. At no point did I feel like I was repeating the same challenge as I played through the December levels, and I feel that's pretty impressive. The audio was quite memorable in Factory, especially the "oh no" sound that plays whenever something goes tits up. In fact, I have a friend who made his phone play it whenever his boss messages him. All the sounds, along with the visuals, were done by Callahan himself. The "oh no" is just his own voice pitch shifted a bit. In order to make this happen, he had to borrow a gigantic outboard audio capture box that plugged into the serial port because his Mac at the time had no built-in sound input. Another little thing I like about the game is how much each product looks like a Macintosh icon. Sometimes it felt like I was building new iconography for the operating system. Yet another great feature is a level editor, so people could build their own safety regulation breaking factories. Callahan was really impressed with some of the levels users created, and he was kind enough to provide a collection of them he had, which I've now archived in the usual places. Of course, the game is not perfect. For example, there are levels that drop items at random, or at least they feel random to me, and sometimes it can feel like it just won't give you the peace you need to finish a product. This only happened to me a couple of times though, and trying to deal with it was enjoyable, even if I failed the levels miserably. The save system is also a little rough, as it usually only lets you save every 5 levels, which is an in-game week. There are also graphical glitches on a rare occasion, but nothing serious. I asked Callahan if the story about automated systems breaking down was commentary on our over-reliance on technology, and he told me it definitely was, but also, if he were to be honest, that wasn't part of the original idea. In fact, Factory started as a completely abstract game. Callahan had always been fascinated by dynamic systems that operate on bits of state moving through them, model railroads, marble runs, Rube Goldberg machines, and so on. Factory came about by wanting to capture that on a computer. Callahan even went on to say that, when you think about it, Factory is basically a model train layout where you make the trains crash into each other again and again. He says he can't remember where the Factory theme came from, but is certain that playing the cement factory level in the original Donkey Kong was a contributing factor. This theme was pasted on after the fact, but he says he did the best paced up job he could do with the limited resources that he had. Callahan also got some feedback on said theme of the game, in that it may be difficult to get people excited about assembly lines, but he never gave it much thought. He just wanted to make the idea happen, and I'm, along with many other Mac gamers, are certainly glad that he did just that. And despite the mundane premise, he actually wanted to make even crazier levels, but there was only so much that he could fit on the one screen. Callahan has thought about bringing the game back, including a touchscreen version for iOS. He's written a few small iOS apps in his spare time, but the main reason he hasn't tackled the rework of Factory is that the bar is so high for polish and visual design, and he lacks skill in that area. He did tell me to say that if there is anyone out there who is good with Photoshop and interested in collaborating, that they should drop him a line. Factory was actually first released as a commercial product back in 1993. The company that released it, Softstream International, unfortunately went out of business soon after. Callahan does think that some copies were actually sold, but he did not see any money from it. He found this rather discouraging, and he was also busy in college writing his thesis at the time. As a result, he forgot about Factory for a while until 1995, when he cleaned it up a little and re-released it as shareware, where it found new life and new fans, including myself. Before we end, I just want to make a quick note about Emulation. Both Sheep Shaver and Basilisk gave me some nasty sound errors when I was trying to play this game. I had the best result by emulating a Macintosh 2 using Mini VMac, which seems to emulate the game pretty perfectly. If you manage to get the sound working in a Power Mac emulator, I do recommend going down that route, as that will get you to smoother scrolling. As you can see here, it's a little bit jerky with the machine that I emulated. And that is Factory, the Industrial Devolution, a game which may not look too exciting at a glance, but upon closer inspection, you'll find an incredibly original, challenging, and satisfying arcade puzzle game.
Oh no.